Sarah Ferguson's imminent departure from Royal Lodge isn't just a real estate change. It's the unraveling of a deeply personal chapter in royal life. This was more than a house. It was a home she shared with Prince Andrew long after their divorce, a place where birthdays were celebrated, milestones marked, and family ties preserved. But as Andrew's scandals intensify, particularly those involving Jeffrey Epstein, the emotional weight of staying has become too heavy. The very grounds that once offered a sense of continuity have now become a reminder of public shame and personal fracture. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. For Ferguson, walking away means letting go of a shared history that can no longer protect her from the shadow cast by her former husband's downfall. As she begins a process of detaching from both the Lodge and Andrew, Ferguson is navigating uncharted territory. Her decision to step back from charity roles tainted by association with Epstein, including her public disavowal of past remarks, signals an urgent attempt to rebuild her reputation. But this isn't just damage control. She's exploring speaking opportunities and potential media ventures, making it clear she's serious about crafting a new identity. Whether her next steps are fueled by personal awakening or calculated necessity, one thing is certain: she's no longer willing to absorb the cost of Andrew's past. Sarah Ferguson is officially out of the Royal Lodge, out of her long-time living arrangement with Prince Andrew, and potentially out of the UK entirely. After years of navigating one of the most bizarre post-divorce dynamics in modern royal history, Fergie's next chapter is unfolding, and it's laced with scandal, royal fallout, and a quiet but calculated exit from the shadows of her ex-husband's disgrace. You've probably heard the headlines by now. Prince Andrew's implosion hasn't just cost him his royal titles, it's completely rocked the foundation of his personal life. And no one's felt that impact more directly than the woman who, despite divorcing him in 1996, never really left his side. But now, after decades of living together, defending him, and publicly maintaining an unusually close relationship, Sarah Ferguson is packing her bags and stepping away from the home that's defined so much of their shared life. Let's rewind for a second. Because Royal Lodge wasn't just some random estate, it was the home base, a sprawling Windsor property, steeped in family history and once considered a rare symbol of stability in Andrew and Fergie's otherwise chaotic post-divorce narrative. They raised their daughters there. They hosted royal events there. They even weathered the early waves of scandal from behind those gates. If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. But in the wake of Andrew's catastrophic ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, that illusion of stability shattered. Public trust? Gone. Titles? Stripped. And now, Royal Lodge, once a soft landing spot in a hard world, is being dismantled piece by piece. King Charles has reportedly had enough. The fallout from Andrew's scandal wasn't just damaging to one man. It was threatening the entire monarchy's public standing. And while Charles has always been big on streamlining the royal family, this situation forced his hand. Removing Andrew from Royal Lodge and nudging Sarah Ferguson to find new accommodations isn't just about real estate. It's a symbolic purge, a reset, and it speaks volumes. Now, let's talk about Sarah Ferguson's next move, because it's raising eyebrows. While Andrew is expected to quietly settle at a private estate on Sandringham, low profile, low drama, Fergie's plans are a little more open-ended. She's made statements signaling independence, a fresh start, and possibly even a full departure from the UK. And the question hanging in the air is this a bold step toward reinvention, or just damage control with a side of PR? Her sudden shift away from the Royal Lodge comes with an even more telling development: her quiet exit from certain charity patronages, specifically those with even a tangential link to Epstein. One of the most notable? Her patronage at a children's hospice, which ended after emails surfaced where she referred to Epstein as a supreme friend. That detail alone was enough to send public trust plummeting, and she knew it. Pulling out of these roles isn't just about optics. It's a deliberate move to scrub the past clean and reintroduce herself to the public without the Epstein size stain. It's no secret that Ferguson has long been a master of reinvention. From duchess to debt-ridden scandal magnate to children's book author to talk show guest, she's navigated the chaotic fringes of royal life with bizarre kind of resilience. But this feels different. There's no cozy fallback to lean on this time. The Royal Lodge is gone. Her close alignment with Andrew is under scrutiny. And with doors closing fast in the charity world, she's got to carve out a whole new identity, and fast. Which brings us to the whispers of upcoming media ventures. Memoirs, speaking engagements, possibly even new TV or podcast appearances. All signs point to a strategic pivot, one where Ferguson sheds a royal title hangover and rebrands as a self-sustaining public figure. Not a duchess clinging to nostalgia, but a woman reclaiming her space. And while it might sound like a noble effort, let's not pretend it's all about empowerment. There's a strong undercurrent of necessity here, with her past association with Epstein dragging down her credibility, and Andrew's scandal continuing to dominate headlines. Staying attached to the royal household was no longer a viable option. Whether this move were voluntary or not, the message is clear: distance equals survival. Still, her relationship with Andrew complicates everything. 4 years. They were inseparable, living together, vacationing together, even reportedly considering remarrying at one point. It was a strange arrangement, but it worked for them until it didn't. Because once Andrew's legal troubles and grotesque associations with Epstein began to resurface, bringing renewed media scrutiny and public disgust, Ferguson found herself at a crossroads. Stay loyal and go down with the ship, or step away and try to salvage what's left of her own narrative. Her latest statement suggests she's choosing the latter. And with that choice comes a bigger question. Will she leave the UK altogether? There's been no formal announcement yet, but the possibility feels real. Her entire life has been tethered to the royal machine, but the current royal machine doesn't have a place for Sarah Ferguson anymore. Not with the stain of Epstein hovering, not with her ex-husband quietly exiled to the countryside, and definitely not with King Charles tightening the family circle in a public effort to restore credibility. And let's be honest, the UK press hasn't been kind. The tabloids have pounced on every misstep, every awkward offense of Andrew, every questionable email. At this point, a fresh start somewhere far from Windsor might be the most logical option. A softer media environment, a new market for her books and speeches, an audience more willing to hear her side without the royal baggage looming overhead. But even as she hints at independence, there's a sense that this isn't just about personal growth. It's a survival strategy, a response to pressure, both from the public and likely from inside the palace. Letting go of Royal Lodge, stepping away from Andrew, distancing from scandal-sullied charities, it all fits a blueprint of someone trying to get ahead of a narrative spiraling out of control. And let's not forget what this move means to the broader family dynamic. Royal Lodge wasn't just home to Andrew and Fergie. It was a place where Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie spent much of their lives. It held weddings, birthdays, and royal milestones. Its loss isn't just logistical, it's emotional, a disruption of family continuity. And if that's being torn down to protect the monarchy's image, it speaks to just how deep this crisis runs. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Sarah Ferguson. It's about how scandals ripple through institutions that rely on perception and pageantry. Prince Andrew's fall from grace wasn't contained to one man. It set off a chain reaction. His titles were taken. His public role disappeared. And now, the woman who stood by him is being quietly moved off the board. Will she bounce back? Probably. She's done it before. But the context is different now. The stakes are higher, and the tolerance for scandal is lower than ever. If Ferguson wants to rebuild, she'll have to do it on her own terms, far from the palace walls and the ghost of Royal Lodge. So, is this a genuine breakaway or a strategic repositioning? Is she finally claiming independence, or just doing damage control before the next scandal wave hits? That's the million-pound question. And her next steps, where she goes, what she says, who she aligns with, will tell us everything we need to know. In the meantime, the royal family continues to shrink its public-facing roster. Prince Andrew is in exile. Fergie is stepping off stage left. And the monarchy, ever image-conscious, is trying to clean house, literally and figuratively. What we're witnessing isn't just a house move. It's the quiet collapse of a chapter the royal family would rather forget. And Sarah Ferguson? Whether she's walking away by choice or being gently pushed, one thing's certain, she's no longer part of the furniture. If you're still trying to process how a decades-long royal entanglement unraveled in a matter of months, you're not alone. What do you think? Is Fergie finally cutting ties, or just playing a long game in royal exile? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button if you're side-eyeing this whole mess, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the chaos behind the crown. Because let's be real, Fergie's timing isn't random. This move comes right as the royal family is clamping down hard on image control. After years of letting Andrew coast on royal fumes, the palace is now in full cleanup mode. That means no more room for quirky ex-wives living rent-free in palatial estates tied to disgraced princes. It means silence, separation, and most importantly, optics. And Sarah Ferguson, with all her past soundbites defending Andrew and her questionable Epstein connections, was fast becoming an optics nightmare. So now, she's doing what anyone in a position would do, shifting the narrative before someone else does it for her. Repositioning herself as an independent woman breaking free from royal baggage instead of someone being quietly erased from it. And if she plays this right, she might just succeed. Because as much as the public is tired of royal scandals, they love a comeback story, especially when it comes packaged in a woman starting over arc. But the success of that rebrand hinges on how much distance she's actually willing to create. Leaving Royal Lodge is one thing. Cutting emotional ties with Prince Andrew? That's a whole other story. For decades, their relationship has defied explanation. Divorce never really looked like divorce for them. They lived together, traveled together, were rumored to even rekindle romantically at times. She famously once said that they were the happiest divorced couple in the world. Cute, sure. But post-Epstein, that cuteness turned into confusion. And for a lot of people, her unflinching loyalty to Andrew started looking more like willful ignorance, or worse, complicity by association. That's why a recent statement feels like such a shift. Her language around Andrew has noticeably changed. Less protective, more vague, no more glowing praise, no more tone-deaf defenses. Instead, she's leaning into the personal growth narrative, the whole finding my voice and moving forward playbook. And while that could be sincere, it's also suspiciously aligned with the palace's silent strategy of pushing problematic figures to the sidelines. Let's not forget, Ferguson's previous attempts to step into the public spotlight always came with caveats. The debt scandals, the undercover cash for access sting, the infamous Oprah interview. Her track record with public perception has been rocky at best. But now, with the Epstein association looming larger than ever, she seems to be learning the one royal rule that actually matters. Survival depends on silence, or spin. And this time, she's going with spin. Her rumored upcoming projects, the memoirs, the speeches, the possible documentaries, are all perfectly positioned to recast her as a misunderstood royal adjacent who endured scandal, motherhood, palace politics, and media cruelty, only to rise above it all. Think, eat, pray, ditch Royal Lodge. But even as she reintroduces herself to the world, one question keeps hovering over everything. Is this reinvention real? Because let's be honest, Fergie's always been media savvy. She knows the power of a redemption arc. And with her royal access revoked and her old lifestyle crumbling, this pivot isn't just about personal growth. It's about survival, financial, reputational, and maybe even emotional. She's also not subtle about trying to stay relevant. Over the years, she's dabbled in everything from publishing children's books to launching lifestyle brands. She's tried being the fun auntie figure in royal media, the misunderstood ex-wife, even the savvy businesswoman. Some of it landed, a lot of it didn't. But now, with Andrew radioactive and her own image under scrutiny, the stakes are too high for another flop. So what does all this mean for her role within the royal family moving forward? Short answer, there isn't one. Not officially, at least. She's never been fully reinstated into the fame, despite her closeness to Andrew and continued presence at family events. And now, with the palace undergoing its most aggressive image overhaul in years, there's simply no place for a figure as complicated and controversial as Sarah Ferguson. This isn't just about reputational damage. It's about narrative control. The monarchy wants clean lines, clear roles, and no lingering scandals. Fergie, with her history and high profile, is the exact opposite of that. Her mere presence is a reminder of Andrew's mess and of the family's past willingness to look the other way. So yes, she's technically still family, but in an awkward way where no one really knows what to do with her. She's the ex-in-law who still shows up at holidays, but you kind of wish she wouldn't. And with her departure from Royal Lodge, that liminal space she's occupied for so long is vanishing. It's also worth noting how quiet this whole transition has been. No grand farewell, no dramatic palace statement. Just a slow unraveling of arrangements that were never really official to begin with. That silence, it speaks volumes. It's the palace's favorite move. Let the public connect the dots, while maintaining plausible deniability. And speaking of silence, Andrew's upcoming relocation to Sandringham is being handled in the same way. No headlines, no photo ops, just a quiet shuffle into the countryside, far from public view. It's a strategic exile designed to reduce noise, minimize scandal, and buy time. And Fergie's move feels like part of that large plan. Even though she's technically choosing to leave, you have to wonder how much of that choice was really hers. The timing, the pressure, the optics, it all adds up to something more forced and free. Especially when you consider how tightly woven her life has been with Andrew for decades. And while we're on the topic of Andrew, his daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, are caught in the crossfire. Royal Lodge wasn't just their childhood home. It was their anchor, a symbol of family continuity in a world where public scrutiny never really let up. Losing that space is a big deal, not just emotionally, but symbolically. It's another crack in the illusion of royal stability, because when a scandal like Epstein hits, the damage doesn't stop at the person involved. It spreads through families, through institutions, through legacies. And no amount of spin, silence, or sudden relocations can fully contain that kind of fallout. What we're seeing now is a long tail of that damage. Years after the headlines, the repercussions are still unfolding. Titles lost, homes vacated, public roles erased. And for Sarah Ferguson, it's the end of an era she never thought would close, living in Royal Lodge, near her daughters, beside Andrew, behind the safety of royal gates. Now, she's on her own. For real this time. And while she's clearly trying to control the narrative, positioning herself as independent, resilient, and future-focused, there's no denying that this is also a moment of reckoning. A reckoning with her past loyalties, her public statements, her role in maintaining the illusion long after the truth started coming out. The next chapter of Sarah Ferguson's life is coming whether she's ready or not. And whether she stays in the UK or disappears into quieter corners of the world, her legacy will be permanently shaped by this moment. Not just the move, but what it represents. The final unraveling of a decades-long entanglement with a House of Windsor's most disgraced figure. So now the question isn't just, where is she going? It's who is she, when she's not Duchess of York, not Andrew's ex, not the woman in the window at Royal Lodge. And maybe, just maybe, she's asking herself that question, too. And honestly, how could it be over? This is a British royal family we're talking about, where nothing ever ends cleanly, and no one ever really leaves. They just fade into the background until the next scandal drags them back into the spotlight. That's what makes Sarah Ferguson's situation so compelling. Because no matter how far she tries to step away, her name will always be connected to his. Prince Andrew isn't just her ex-husband. He's the scandal she can't shake, the one that redefined her public image. And as long as he remains a royal family's black hole of disgrace, she'll always be in the gravitational pull. Which is why this departure from Royal Lodge, this sudden need to move on, feels less like a fresh start and more like forced evolution. Like she finally realized the royal bubble wasn't going to protect her anymore. Not from public backlash. Not from institutional distance. Not from the consequences of standing too close to a man who has become an international symbol of privilege gone unchecked. But still, she's trying. She's cutting ties, retreating from controversial charities, scrubbing her history, laying the groundwork for a new public identity. And if she pulls it off, it might just be the biggest pivot of her career. Because remember, Sarah Ferguson has never just been a royal figure. She's always been a hustler, a survivor, someone who, despite countless PR disasters, manages to keep a foot in the door. Whether it's through children's books, talk shows, or one-off interviews, she's built a reputation on reinvention, on finding ways to stay relevant just long enough to... But the problem now is that relevance comes with scrutiny. And in a post-Epstein world, scrutiny is a much heavier burden than it used to be. Every move she makes, Every opportunity she chases is going to be filtered through the lens of that scandal. Every headline will come with an asterisk. Every project will come with the unspoken question, why now? And let's be honest, the public's patience for second chances has limits, especially when the original offense wasn't even Hayes. But she stuck around long enough to get caught in the splash zone. So yes, this is a pivotal moment. For Fergie, for the royals, for the entire institution that continues to struggle with the long-term fallout of Andrew's disgrace. Because whether it's Royal Lodge being cleared out, or patronages disappearing, or public figures going silent, what we're really watching is a strategic retreat. A royal family quietly erasing the mess they once tried to ignore. And Fergie? She's stuck in the middle. Not scandalous enough to be banished completely, but too closely tied to scandal to stay. So she's moving, shifting, reframing, calling it independence, even if it feels a lot like exile with better PR. Will it work? Well, that depends. On how loud Andrew's name stays in the headlines, on how effectively she can distance herself, and, maybe most importantly, on how willing the public is to let her rebuild. To see her not as the ex-duchess who stood by a disgraced prince, but as a woman caught in the crossfire of one of the monarchy's darkest chapters. It's a steep hill to climb. But if anyone's going to try it, it's Fergie, because fading quietly into obscurity, that's never been her style. What do you think? Is this Sarah Ferguson's redemption era, or just another carefully scripted exit? Hit that subscribe button if you're here for the drama. Smash like if you're still recovering from this royal house of cards. And drop a comment below, because this story might be over for now. But trust me, the next chapter is already being written.